Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to teach you how you can make some good Roblox GUIs. They're also expensive. And we'll start, of course, by the building blocks of Roblox GUI, which are frame, alright? So let's go. We'll go into start GUI, we'll make a screen GUI. Alright, cool. And then a frame. Alright, cool. Now, the thing is, a lot of people actually ask me this question, which is, do I need to make two screen GUIs? Or two frames for different, like for example, if I have the inventory, let's say, and the trading GUI, alright? So, would I make the trading GUI its own screen GUI, or would I make my GUI as one screen GUI? Alright, let me just explain this for a sec. The thing is, whenever a screen GUI is disabled, it doesn't load anything inside of it until you enable it again. So for example, if you have an inventory that gets toggled on and off, you will notice at the first time you toggle it on, you will notice that it's blank, that it's just loading. That's not very good, especially for GUIs that's going to be used from the player a lot. But if it's a GUI that is really complex and that is rarely, like really rarely used in some situations in the game, you can make it into the screen GUI, but you can still actually use a frame. So that's kind of the thing about it. Cool. Now we do have these frames. Let's just go on. Let me just rename this back into frame. Alright. So there's four properties that you need to worry about. There's the anchor point, the position, and the size. And I'll explain why one by one. Okay? So what is an anchor point? So you see this GUI, right? Cool. Now, the question is, I can only determine the position of a point, right? I cannot determine the position of let's say a 2D plane or whatever. I can only determine a position of one point at a time. Alright. So the thing is, anchor point tells Roblox where do I want to grab the GUI. Like, if I said 0.5, 0.5 in both axes, X and Y, then it will grab the GUI from this point, from the center point. I mean 50% X and 50% Y. Alright? Just like doing this, right? So if you have like a position of 0, it will be right here. If you have a position of 1, it will be right here. And so on, right? Cool. But if you, for example, have it just 0, 0, it's like you're grabbing the GUI from here, from this corner, right? From this corner. And you just like grab it like this, basically. You see what's going on here? And let's say I have 1, X and Y. It's like I'm grabbing the GUI from here, from this point. And so on. And of course, the x-axis is going this way, and the y-axis is going this way. Alright. So let's say I want to center this. How would I do that? First of all, I need to set the anchor point to the center of the UI, or the frame. So right now, I can position my UI from the absolute center. Alright, cool. Now, if I go to the position, let's see. We have the x and the y. By the way, let's go for the rotation, because it's much easier. So if I set it to 45, you can see that it rotates around the center, which is anchor point, right? Cool. Now, the thing is, what if I have it at 0? Let's see what would it do. Well, it's still actually rotating to the center, so it doesn't really care about the anchor point, as you can see. But the position and the size does care about it. And let's see how. So, as I said, let's try to center this frame. First of all, we need to grab the UI from its center. Using the anchor point, we'll set it to 50%, 50% in both axes. And then we can go to the position, and you can see that we have 4 values right now. We have 2 values for the x-axis, which is right and left, and 2 values for the y-axis. And every axis have a scale and an offset, right? Cool. Now the scale is a percentage of the size of the screen, right? So let's, as you can see here, for example, if I said 0.5, then it will go into the 50% of the screen size, which means it will be centered in the half of the screen, or 50% of the screen, x-axis. And if I said here 0.52, now it's centered in both axes, because I'm saying it to position my UI from the anchor point of the center of the frame to the position 50%, 50% in the x-axis and the y-axis. Alright, cool. The offset is like a margin. It's how much pixels we add. And by pixels, I really mean pixels, not, for example, like, it doesn't really scale with the different resolutions. So let's say I have an iPhone. As you can see, it's still centered, but since the size is defined in offset, as you can see, it doesn't change when the screen size change. It remains the same, right? So if I have a very big screen, this UI will look very small. But if I have, let's say, an iPhone, it will look very big because it's defined in offset, in actual pixels, not by scale, not by percentage of the screen size. Alright, cool. Now let's just go back. Cool. Now, for the X and the Y, let's actually go with offset. I'll show you when you're going to need offset in a sec, but for now, let's go with the size 2. So let's say I want my frame to expand into the whole screen, right? What I can do is set it to a scale of 1, and then offset should be 0. Alright? The scale 1, which is 100% of the size, and 0 offset. Alright, cool. Now, as you can see, it took the whole screen from the center point. It expanded from the center point to the whole screen. Cool. Now, let's say I want to leave a little bit of space between the here, here, and here, and here. So what can I do? I can just go ahead into the x-axis and do -8, for example. And then as you can see, I already have a little bit of margin of 4 pixels. Because we have 4 pixels here and 4 pixels here, because the UI is going to scale to the center point, which is the center point in this case. So that makes total sense, right? Cool. Let's go with -16 or even -50 pixels, so you can see even more. As you can see, there's 25 pixels here, 25 pixels here. And you can also go to the y-axis and -50 pixel. Very great. Now you have a UI that takes up the whole screen, 100% of the screen, but it does leave a little bit of 50 pixels that is independent of the screen size. It just defined in offset or in pixel feet. As you can see, I just said 100% of the size of the screen minus 50 pixels. Alright, and as you can see right now, it will be kind of the same on all screens. It will just have 50 pixels in the margin. And that's just pretty cool. That's pretty powerful. As you can see, it's a pretty good tool. And what else I want to tell you? Alright, so let's say we want to make a slider, alright? A slider that is centered, of course. Alright, now, we need to make the background of the slider. So I'll just call this slider. And I can make this transparent, right? Because I just want to frame my slider. Like, I want to define where I want to put or to set up my slider. Alright, so let's go into the size. Let's say the slider goes on from the left to the right, just like that. Alright, let's start from scratch so you can see what the heck I'm doing. Alright, so let's make a frame. Let's call this a slider, let's say. I'll set its transparency to 1 because I don't need it visually. I just need it, like, for setup in the slide anyways. For frame in the slider, basically. So you'll see how it goes. And I have a really strong point to demonstrate. Right, so in the x-axis, let's say I want my slider to take on 90% of the screen. Oh god, not in the position, of course. In the x, scale 0.9, offset is 0, because I don't want any pixels added or subtracted. And what's next? I need to make sure the scale, let's go with maybe 50 pixels in the y-axis, because why not? Just 50 pixels. So it's independent of the screen size. Just the width that it's going to scale with the screen size. Cool. Now I want to center this frame thing, this slider. Let's go with 0.5, 0.5 in the x and the y of the anchor point, and of course in the position 0.5, 0.5. And here we go. Now we set the anchor point to the center of this little frame of the slider, and then we set that anchor point's position to 0.5, 0.5, or 50%, 50%, which made the frame totally centered. Alright, as you can see, we made the frame that we need here, which is pretty cool, if you ask me. Alright, great. Now what we need? We need a background, right? So let's make a frame. And for this, I'll call it a background. And this will just take the whole slider frame thing. Alright, cool. Now I'll just go and select some background color. And I'll use a round corner. Because making things rounded, makes your UI much more friendlier, much more eye candy. Because a human eye really concentrates on the edges or the corners, the sharp corners. So that's a very good principle in UI design. So let's go. What we need now is a UI corner, I suppose. Yep. And as you can see, you have this little corner here, which is pretty good looking. Nice. Now, inside this background, I want to put something else. By the way, because our background is inside this slider, it won't take the percentage, the scale of the screen size, but actually the scale of its parent, which is in this case this frame, this slider frame. That's why I did here in the background, I said 100%, 100%. I meant that the background should take 100%, 100% of the x and the y axis scale of the parent, which is the slider here, the slider frame that is transparent, alright? Cool. Now inside this background, I want to put something else. So let's say a frame, alright? And then I want to also to center this one. So scale 0.5, 0.5, and the anchor point 0.5, 0.5, nice. Now the size, well, let's go with, for the x-axis, 1, and then I'll use -10, maybe, or -20 or something. Let's go with -20 and see how it goes. Alright, and in the offset, so the y-axis will go with 1, 2, and -20 in the margin. So as you can see, we just left a little bit of 20 pixels here and there, which looks pretty cool. Let's go with 24, I guess. Maybe much better. Alright, so now let's just copy this UI corner into the new frame. Here we go. And let's make this frame like blue, maybe. You can choose whichever you want. Here we go. Now now I can actually demonstrate to you what did I mean. The thing is, now since the anchor point is 0.5, 0.5, if I try to set the scale using the script to actually animate this slider, here's what's gonna happen. So let's say I put the scale into 0.5. As you can see, it didn't scale from the right to left or left to right, but it did scale from the center, because the anchor point is in the center. So if you really want your slider like to scale from the center like this, then you can go with an anchor point of 0.5. Cool. But if you want, let's say, to scale from the left to the right, you don't need to do that. You can't do this. You can go with an anchor point of 0 actually, right? So it will start to get positioned from here. But now you have a problem that it's no longer centered. How you can do that? Well, basically, since I want to leave a 20 margin here, what I'm going to say is, and in the position, since I'm starting to position myself from here, I'll just do a scale of 0. Now make sure that the offset is 24. Actually, let's go with one, like, yeah, that one. That should be good. And the Y, let's just leave it centered because it doesn't really matter, right? Very great. Now, in the Y, in the X, let's just go with -12 here. So we'll leave a margin here. So if you have a scale of 1, let's say 100 pixels. Oh, you should go with the size. You should do -24. So you get the margin that you added here minus the margin that you want to add here at the end. And then you subtract it from the offset. And as you can see, when your script sets it to 100%, it will take the whole frame and it will leave a margin of 24 pixels here and there. Alright, cool. But if I have like 0.5%, there you go. 0.25%. Or let's say this actually looks not the best because you don't really see where the slider properly ends. So what we can do actually is to pick the screen color of this. And just to make it lighter or darker. Most of the time you need to make it lighter. Alright, cool. Now what you can do is you're just going to copy this frame and then paste it again. Or actually, let's make another frame. So let's make another frame. By the way, this one can be centered. Doesn't matter now. So it's not the one that's going to get scaled. So just get it back into its own position. 0.5 in the scale X and 0 in the offset. And in the size, let's make sure everything is right. Yes, it is. It is. Alright, cool. Now for the frame here, what we need to do is make it a position of 1, because I want it, oh god, not in the position, in the size, right? 1, and 0 in the offsets. So we'll take the whole frame here. I'll call this one, let's say slider shadow or something, right? And then here the frame, it should be, it needs a UI corner, of course. I'll just copy that and paste it. Alright, great. Now, even if you have, let's say, 0.5, as you can see what's going on here. Let's make this frame blue. You see what's going on here? That's pretty good. Let's try to make this darker and let's see how it goes. Oh, that's actually look awesome. You can do whatever you want with it. Pretty cool, huh? Love it. Alright, pretty beautiful. So as you can see, you can make a lot of things just using this, like basically frames. I didn't use anything else this frame. And then you can make like a text label inside the slider shadow. Now let's say if you want to make a text label inside the slider that shows the percentage. Now there is two choices here in the slider use case. You can put the percentage inside this frame that scales up and down, or actually left and right. You can put it in the center, or you can put it in the center of the shadow, right? The slider should go, so it doesn't, go back and forth. But let me show you the two so you can see what the heck I'm talking about. Alright, so slider shadow, let's make a text label. Alright, good. Now, let's say, I want to center it, yep. So I need to go to the anchor point, no, 0.5, and position 0.5 in the scale. Cool. Now, the size. For the x-axis, I'll just go with 1, because it doesn't matter. By the way, yeah, and 0 in the offset, and 1 here in the y, and 0 in the offset, for now. Alright, I don't need any background. Cool. And let's make our text color 3 white. And the best font ever for standard use, it's Roboto font. Text scaled, right? Good. So it scales with your UI size or your slider size. Now this can have, let's say, 100 or 50%, right? And here we go. You just made your own UI. Very cool, huh? Let's make this 25%, which is 0.25. And you can see how you can scribble this. So, let's just make this 25%. You can already see how this will really look. Now the thing is, this will be always centered here. But let's say you want your game percentage or your slider percentage to go in the center of this filling thing. It's not the best thing to do, but if you want to, go ahead. You can put it here, and here we go. Now whenever I size this thing, let's say 0.75, which is 75%. Now it will always stay in this center, which doesn't really look that good, to be honest. The slider shadow thing, it's much better, I think. But yeah, just wanted to show you this. Alright, cool. Let's say you find this text is so big, alright? Instead of going ahead and disabling text scaled and disabling and changing the text size, which won't scale with the other screen as well, what you can do is just give this text label, and as you know, it's already centered in the y-axis. What we can do is just go to the size, the y, and then we can subtract some offset, some pixels. So let's say minus 16. And as you can see, I left some margin here and there for 16 pixels. But that's too much. Let's go with minus 4, I think. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Maybe minus 8 even. Yep, that's pretty nice. Pretty great. Nice. Let's go with minus 6. Yeah, that's pretty nice, man. Alright, bruh. Let's put that in the slider shadow. I think it's much nicer. And here you go. You got your own UI design slider. And of course, if you want to make this much rounder, it's very easy. You're just going to search for the UI corners. And select them using control, by holding control, select all of them. And just change this. Experiment with this value right here. You can go wild. Let's say 0.25, 0.5. And now, as you can see, you have a really round slider. Very good for sci-fi projects. If you want it blocky like Minecraft, here we go, 0, boom. If you want it, let's say, just, semi-round, you can go 0.25, and stuff like that. As you can see, it's pretty cool looking, lovely, and yeah. That was really it for this video. If you want more videos, let me know in the comment section. And if you have any tutorial ideas or whatever, you're welcome to tell me. And also, I'll left you my Discord server in the description. If you want to join, I'll actually, in the next video, I'll stream in my Discord in a voice call, right? I'll stream while I'm recording the video, so you can actually ask questions and stuff like that while I'm actually recording, and you will be featured in the video as a Discord helper or whatever. So yeah, let's go on. Goodbye, guys. you so much for watching.